Have you ever reached the end of the day feeling strangely exhausted, yet unsure what you actually accomplished? You were busy. Messages, tasks, ideas, plans, responsibilities. The hours moved quickly, but somehow the most important things, the ones that could truly change your future, never received your full attention. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Most people believe their biggest obstacle is lack of talent, lack of time, or lack of opportunity. But what if the real enemy of success is something far more invisible, something quietly stealing your potential every single day? Distraction. In this story, you'll follow the journey of a man who spent years drifting through life, starting things, abandoning them, watching opportunities pass him by, until one simple decision changed everything. A decision so powerful that it didn't just improve his productivity, it saved his future. And once you understand what he discovered about focus, attention, and discipline, you may start looking at your own habits very differently, because the same principle that transformed his life could be quietly waiting to transform yours. But first, you need to see how his story began. The world today moves fast, too fast for most people to notice what's really happening to their lives. Every day begins with good intentions, yet somehow it dissolves into noise. Notifications, endless information, unfinished tasks. It all pulls the mind in different directions. And before long, people realize something unsettling. They've been busy all day, yet nothing truly meaningful moved forward. It's strange, isn't it? A person can spend hours working, scrolling, replying, planning, thinking, and still feel like they accomplished almost nothing that truly matters. The day becomes a blur of activity without direction, like trying to row a boat while someone keeps turning the wheel. Movement happens, but progress never does. Many people quietly carry this feeling. They wake up already overwhelmed by everything they should do. Goals once felt exciting, learning a skill, building something meaningful, changing their life. But distractions creep in slowly, almost invisibly. One small interruption here, another there, and suddenly the dream that once burned bright now flickers weakly in the background. What's worse is that this drift doesn't look dramatic from the outside. Life still appears normal. People go to work, talk to friends, check their phones, make plans, but inside, something feels scattered. Attention is divided across dozens of things, yet nothing receives enough focus to grow. Energy leaks away through 1,000 tiny cracks. And here's the uncomfortable truth most people avoid facing. Success rarely belongs to the busiest person. It belongs to the person who can protect their attention like treasure. Yet in a world designed to steal focus every minute, that skill has quietly become rare. You can see it everywhere. Someone starts reading a book but checks their phone every few pages. Another begins learning a new skill but abandons it after a few weeks when something shinier appears. Ideas start with enthusiasm, then disappear unfinished. Slowly, the habit of distraction becomes a lifestyle. And after enough time passes, a subtle fear begins to grow in the back of the mind. What if my life keeps going like this? What if years slip by while attention remains scattered across endless small things? The thought is uncomfortable, so most people push it away. But for one man, that question would become impossible to ignore, because soon the story will turn toward someone who once had dreams just like anyone else. Someone who didn't realize that the real enemy of his future wasn't failure, it was distraction. There was once a man who carried dreams the way many people do, quietly, somewhere in the back of his mind. Years earlier, those dreams had felt alive. He imagined building something meaningful, becoming someone capable, creating a future he could be proud of. But life, as it often does, slowly pulled him away from that vision. His days began to follow a familiar rhythm. Wake up, check his phone, rush through responsibilities, jump between tasks, and end the night wondering where the time had gone. Nothing seemed obviously wrong on the surface. Yet deep inside, he carried a subtle but growing feeling that something important was slipping through his fingers. He wasn't lazy. In fact, he tried many things. One week he would start learning a new skill with excitement. Another week, he would outline a business idea that filled him with hope. Sometimes he promised himself he would finally become disciplined. But somehow every plan slowly dissolved into distraction. Friends around him seemed to move forward with their lives. Some built careers. Others created opportunities or developed skills that opened new doors. Watching this unfold stirred something uncomfortable in him. Not jealousy exactly, more like a quiet realization that he once believed he would be moving forward too. Instead, his attention scattered across endless directions. He would open a book, then switch to his phone, start working on a project, then suddenly chase a different idea. Every day felt busy yet strangely empty, like running on a treadmill while watching the world outside move forward. And the frustrating part? He could feel his potential sitting there, unused. Every now and then he caught glimpses of what he might become if he could only concentrate long enough to finish what he started. Those moments were brief, but they left an imprint on his mind. Late at night, when the noise of the day finally quieted, his thoughts became harder to ignore. He would stare at the ceiling and ask himself questions he rarely said out loud. Why can't I stay focused? Why do I start so many things and finish so few? The answer never arrived clearly, but the feeling grew stronger with each passing month, an unsettling sense that time was moving faster than he was, that while he kept drifting from one distraction to the next, the years were quietly advancing, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, a realization began forming inside him. If something didn't change soon, his life might continue drifting exactly like this. But what he didn't yet realize was how deeply distraction had already taken control of his days, and soon, that reality would become impossible to ignore. If someone watched his life from the outside, it wouldn't look like chaos. His days appeared normal enough. He woke up, made plans, opened his laptop, wrote down ideas, started tasks. But beneath that surface routine, something subtle was happening. His attention was constantly being pulled away before anything meaningful could take root. One moment he would begin working on a project that seemed important. 10 minutes later, a notification would light up his phone. Then a quick message reply turned into a scroll through endless updates. By the time he looked back at his work, the spark that had started the task had already faded. So he jumped to something else. Maybe a new idea, maybe another plan, maybe a video that promised inspiration. For a brief moment, motivation returned. The excitement of a fresh start always felt good, but the cycle repeated itself again and again. Start, stop, switch, restart. Days became a patchwork of unfinished beginnings. He noticed it most when he opened the folders on his computer. Half-written notes. Projects started but never completed. Plans for goals that once felt important. Each one carried a memory of enthusiasm that had slowly evaporated. And every time he saw those unfinished pieces, a small wave of frustration washed over him. Because deep down, he knew something uncomfortable. The problem wasn't lack of ideas, it was lack of focus. His mind felt like a room with too many open doors. Every sound, every notification, every new possibility pulled him in a different direction. Instead of building momentum toward one path, his energy scattered across dozens of small impulses. Weeks turned into months like this. Sometimes he tried to force discipline for a few days. He would promise himself, this time will be different. He would clear his desk, close his apps, start again with determination. And for a little while, it worked. But the pull of distraction always returned. Until one evening, sitting alone with another unfinished task in front of him, he felt something heavier than frustration. He felt the quiet weight of wasted time, and that feeling would soon lead him to a moment he could no longer ignore. For a long time, he managed to ignore the quiet discomfort that followed him. It was easier that way. If he stayed busy enough, distracted enough, he didn't have to confront the deeper question about where his life was really going. But eventually, life has a way of holding up a mirror when someone least expects it. One afternoon, something small happened that shouldn't have mattered so much. He came across the news of someone he used to know, someone who had started in the same place, with the same resources, the same uncertain beginnings. Yet now, that person was moving forward, building something real, making progress that was impossible to ignore. At first, he tried to brush it off. People succeed at different times, he told himself. Everyone has their own path. But the thought lingered longer than he expected, and the more he sat with it, the harder it became to avoid the truth quietly forming in his mind. He remembered the ideas he once had, the skills he meant to develop, the projects he had started with excitement but never finished. One by one, those memories surfaced like unfinished chapters from a story he had stopped writing. And suddenly the pattern became painfully clear. It wasn't that he lacked opportunity. It wasn't that he lacked intelligence. It wasn't even that he lacked motivation. The real problem was something far more subtle. His attention had been scattered for years. All the effort he believed he was putting into life had been diluted across dozens of directions. Every distraction had quietly stolen a piece of the focus required to actually build something meaningful. Sitting there in silence, he felt a realization settle into his chest like weight. If nothing changed, 5 more years could pass exactly the same way. More ideas started, more plans interrupted, more time quietly slipping away. And in that moment, something inside him refused to accept that future. Because sometimes a person doesn't change when life becomes uncomfortable. They change when staying the same becomes unbearable. And that moment had finally arrived. That evening stayed with him longer than he expected. Long after the room went quiet, his thoughts kept circling the same realization. For years he had blamed circumstances, timing, even luck, but now the truth felt impossible to ignore. The real problem had never been outside his control. It was the way his attention scattered across everything. For the first time, he began looking at his life differently, not through the lens of dreams or ideas, but through the simple question of where his time actually went each day. And the answer was uncomfortable. Hours lost to distractions. Tasks started but never completed. Energy spent everywhere, yet nowhere long enough to matter. Something inside him shifted. Instead of chasing another new idea, he sat quietly and made a different kind of decision. A simple one, really. He would stop trying to do everything. He would stop jumping between paths. And most importantly, he would begin protecting his focus the way a builder protects the foundation of a house. It wasn't a dramatic promise shouted to the world. No announcement, no grand plan. Just a quiet commitment made in the silence of his own mind. From this point forward, his attention would no longer be given away so easily. The next morning, he tested that decision in a small but meaningful way. When he woke up, he didn't immediately reach for his phone. Instead, he sat with a notebook and asked himself one question. What is the single most important thing I could work on today? Not 5 things, not 10, just one. That question felt strangely powerful, because for the first time he wasn't chasing everything that looked interesting. He was choosing what truly mattered. And once that choice was made, something unexpected happened. His mind felt quieter, clearer, more intentional. It was only the beginning, of course. A single decision doesn't magically erase years of distraction. Habits have a way of resisting change. The old patterns were still there, waiting to pull him back. But something important had already begun. Because the moment a person decides to protect their focus, their life begins to move in a completely different direction. And soon, he would discover an idea that would strengthen that decision in a way he never expected. Many of the stories you hear here aren't just stories. They reflect the invisible weight you may be carrying every day. If you're tired of holding pain, responsibility, and guilt that were never yours, I created an ebook called The Weight of Stones That Are Not Yours and More Too Bonus for You. It's for those who want to let go, set boundaries, and live with more lightness. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment. Not long after that decision, something curious happened. While searching for ways to improve his concentration, he stumbled upon an idea that stopped him mid-sentence. It wasn't loud or complicated. In fact, it was almost too simple to notice at first. The idea came from a mentor he had never met personally. Through a book, the mentor explained something that felt strangely obvious once he heard it. Most people don't fail because they lack effort. They fail because their effort is scattered across too many directions at once. That sentence lingered in his mind for days. He began observing people who had achieved something meaningful. Writers, entrepreneurs, athletes, craftsmen. At first, they seemed completely different from each other. Different talents, different backgrounds, different paths. But slowly, he noticed a pattern connecting them all. They protected their focus. While others jumped between ideas, they stayed with one path long enough for progress to compound. While others chased quick excitement, they invested attention patiently into something that mattered. It wasn't magic. It was concentration sustained over time. That realization hit him harder than he expected. For years he believed success required some rare trait, extra intelligence, perfect timing, a lucky opportunity. But what if the real difference was much simpler? What if the ability to concentrate deeply was the hidden skill behind most achievements? Suddenly his past started making sense. It wasn't that he lacked potential. It was that his focus had been diluted. Like sunlight scattered across a room, his energy warmed many places but burned nowhere strongly enough to create change. The mentor's words kept echoing in his mind. Attention is the most valuable resource a person owns. Not money, not talent. Attention. Where it goes, life begins to grow. So he started asking himself a new question each morning. Not, what should I do today? But something far more powerful. Where will I place my attention today? And once that question took hold, he realized something else. If attention was the most valuable resource in his life, then it needed a system to protect it. The idea that attention was his most valuable resource stayed with him like a quiet companion. It followed him through his mornings, his work hours, even the small pauses between tasks. And slowly, he realized something important. A decision alone wouldn't protect his focus. He needed a structure, a simple system that could guide his days. So he began experimenting. Instead of filling his schedule with endless goals, he did something that felt almost uncomfortable at first. He reduced them, radically. Where he once tried to pursue 5 different ambitions at the same time, he forced himself to choose only one main path. It felt risky, almost like closing doors he might someday want to walk through. But he reminded himself of something the mentor had explained. Progress loves concentration. When attention stops scattering, energy begins to build in one direction. And that energy, sustained long enough, eventually becomes momentum. So he created a new rule for his life. Each day would have a protected block of time. No distractions, no phone, no switching tasks. Just one meaningful effort applied to the path he had chosen. Even if it was only 1 hour at first, that hour belonged entirely to his future. The first few days felt strange. His mind wasn't used to staying still that long. It searched for excuses to wander, checking messages, researching something unrelated, opening new tabs. The habits of distraction had trained his brain to crave constant novelty. But instead of giving in, he made the system simple. Phone out of reach, notifications off, one task written clearly in front of him. Then he worked, not perfectly, not with superhuman discipline, just with quiet persistence. If his attention drifted, he gently brought it back, again and again, like guiding a wandering thought back to its path. At first, progress felt small, but something subtle began changing inside him. For the first time in years, his effort was no longer scattered. It was beginning to concentrate. And concentration, once it gains momentum, has a way of revealing something powerful about a person's potential. But before that momentum could appear, he would have to face the hardest part of change, the resistance of old habits. At first, the new system looked simple on paper. One clear goal, one protected block of focused work each day. No distractions, just effort applied to what truly mattered. But when he actually began living it, he discovered something most people never talk about. Focus is uncomfortable at the beginning. The moment he sat down to work without distractions, his mind started rebelling. Thoughts jumped everywhere. Random ideas appeared. Suddenly, he remembered messages he should check, videos he wanted to watch, articles that seemed urgent to read. It was almost funny how quickly his brain searched for escape. He would open his laptop ready to work, and within minutes his hand drifted toward the phone sitting beside him. The habit was automatic. Years of constant stimulation had trained his mind to expect novelty every few seconds. So the battle wasn't against laziness. It was against conditioning. Every time he resisted the urge to check something, it felt like swimming against a quiet current. Not dramatic, not impossible, but persistent. His mind whispered little excuses. Just a quick look. Just 1 minute. You deserve a break. But he had made a promise to himself. So instead of chasing those impulses, he practiced something small, yet powerful. When distraction appeared, he noticed it, then gently returned to the task in front of him. No frustration, no self-criticism, just return, again and again. Some days it felt messy. Progress was slow. The work required patience he wasn't used to yet. But even on those difficult days, something important was happening beneath the surface. His mind was learning a new rhythm. The longer he stayed with a single task, the more his attention began to settle. Thoughts slowed down. The urge to escape weakened. What once felt restless slowly turned into something calmer, like a lake after the wind stops blowing. And in that calm, something unexpected began to appear. Clarity. Ideas became sharper. Work became deeper. And for the first time in a long while, he felt the quiet satisfaction of finishing something he had started. But he still had no idea how powerful this small discipline would become. Because soon, the scattered energy that once controlled his life would begin transforming into something far more valuable: progress. At first, the changes were almost invisible. If someone had looked at his life from the outside, they might not have noticed anything different. He still woke up, worked, and moved through his day like anyone else. But inside his routine, something quiet had begun shifting. For the first time in years, he was finishing things. Not massive achievements, not dramatic breakthroughs, just small, complete pieces of work that once would have been abandoned halfway through. A chapter written, a skill practiced, a task completed without interruption. And strangely, those small victories carried more power than he expected. Each completed effort gave him a subtle sense of control over his life. Instead of feeling pulled in endless directions, he now felt like someone steering his own path. The difference was small at first, but it was real. Days turned into weeks. Weeks slowly turned into months. And with each passing day, the focused hours began stacking on top of each other like bricks, forming the foundation of a house. 1 hour of concentration today, another tomorrow, then another the next day. Individually, they didn't look impressive, but together, they created something powerful. Momentum. Skills that once felt confusing slowly became familiar. Tasks that used to drain his energy started feeling easier. His mind, once scattered across countless distractions, now moved with greater clarity. He also noticed something surprising. The less he chased new ideas, the more progress appeared in the one path he had chosen. By staying with the same direction day after day, he allowed time to do something most people never experience: compounding effort. That steady focus began attracting opportunities he once believed required luck, not because life suddenly became easier, but because consistent attention made him better, sharper, more capable. And slowly, the man who once felt lost in distraction started to recognize something different in the mirror. Someone more disciplined, more intentional, more capable than he had ever given himself credit for. But the real proof of this change had not arrived yet. Because soon, something would happen that would show him exactly what sustained focus could create. For a long time, his progress had been quiet. The changes were mostly internal: clearer thinking, stronger discipline, small tasks completed that once would have remained unfinished. Useful changes, yes, but still invisible to the outside world. Then one day, something different happened. It began with a project he had been working on for weeks. In the past, he would have started it with excitement, lost focus halfway through, and eventually abandoned it like so many others. But this time was different. Day after day, he returned to it with steady attention. Some days the work flowed easily. Other days felt slow and frustrating, but he kept showing up. And eventually, the moment arrived that once seemed rare in his life. He finished it, completely. No unfinished pieces, no half-written plans. Just a clear, completed result sitting in front of him. At first, he simply stared at it, not because the project itself was extraordinary, but because of what it represented. For years, he had doubted whether he could stay focused long enough to bring something meaningful to completion. Now the proof was right in front of him. That finished work led to something unexpected. Someone noticed it. An opportunity appeared, small but real. A conversation opened a door that hadn't existed before. And suddenly he understood something powerful about the nature of progress. Completion attracts attention. When people consistently finish what they start, the world begins responding differently to them. Opportunities appear not through luck, but through visible evidence of effort and discipline. The experience gave him a surge of confidence he hadn't felt in years. Not the loud kind of confidence that fades quickly, but the quiet kind built from evidence. Evidence that he could focus. Evidence that he could follow through. Evidence that the drifting version of himself was slowly being replaced by someone stronger. And that realization sparked a new question in his mind. If this much progress came from protecting his focus for a few months, what could happen if he kept doing it for years? Months passed, and the small discipline he had started almost quietly began shaping his life in ways he never expected. The man who once drifted from one distraction to another was slowly becoming someone different. Not overnight, not dramatically, but steadily, like a river carving its path through stone. His days now had direction. Instead of waking up overwhelmed by dozens of possibilities, he woke up knowing exactly where his attention belonged. That simple clarity removed a surprising amount of stress from his life. Decisions became easier when his focus was no longer scattered everywhere. The hours he protected each day began stacking into something powerful. Skills that once seemed distant started becoming natural. Work that once felt complicated now felt familiar. And the confidence he built didn't come from motivation or inspiration. It came from repetition, from showing up again and again, even when no one else noticed. People around him began seeing the difference too. Friends who once knew him as someone full of unfinished ideas started noticing a new consistency in his actions. Conversations changed. Instead of talking about what he might do someday, he now spoke about what he was actively building. And something even more interesting started happening. Opportunities appeared more often, not because the world suddenly became kinder, but because he had become more prepared. Focus had sharpened his abilities. Consistent effort had created results others could see, and those results opened doors that had once remained closed. But the most important transformation happened internally. The quiet anxiety that once followed him, the fear that he was wasting his potential, slowly faded away. In its place grew something stronger and calmer, the confidence of a man who trusted his own discipline. He now understood something that had taken years to learn. A person's future rarely changes through one big moment. It changes through small decisions repeated long enough to reshape identity. And somewhere along that journey, the man who once struggled to concentrate had become someone almost unstoppable in his direction. Yet the real power of his story wasn't just what happened to him. It was the lesson hidden inside it, a lesson that anyone watching his journey could apply to their own life. When people hear stories of transformation, they often expect something dramatic, a sudden breakthrough, a moment of genius, a lucky opportunity that changes everything overnight. But the truth behind this man's journey was far quieter and far more powerful. His life didn't change because he discovered a secret. It changed because he made one decision and protected it every day. The decision to guard his focus. For years, he believed success belonged to people who did more, chased more, learned more, attempted more things than everyone else. But experience slowly revealed something different. Progress rarely comes from doing everything. It comes from committing deeply to a few things that truly matter. Most people underestimate the power of concentrated effort. They divide their attention between endless goals, distractions, and impulses, hoping something will eventually work. But attention divided across too many directions weakens every effort. Focus, on the other hand, multiplies it. When a person gives sustained attention to one path, day after day, something remarkable begins to happen. Skills sharpen faster. Understanding deepens. Opportunities appear where there was once only uncertainty. And slowly, the identity of that person begins to shift. They stop seeing themselves as someone who tries many things. They become someone who finishes. If you think about it for a moment, the principle is simple enough for anyone to apply. Choose one meaningful direction. Protect time each day to work on it without distraction. Remove the small interruptions that steal your attention. Then repeat the process tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. It doesn't feel extraordinary at first. In fact, it often feels slow. But time has a powerful way of amplifying consistent focus. Weeks turn into months, months into years, and eventually the compound effect becomes impossible to ignore. Which leads to a question worth asking yourself. If your attention is the most valuable resource in your life, where is it going right now? And more importantly, what could your future look like if you chose to protect it?